Hi, this is Marsha.
And this is Kelly.
We are the 2U's of 2U's Fiber Adventures. Thanks for stopping by.
You'll hear about knitting, spinning, dyeing, crocheting, and just about anything else we can think of as a way to play with string.
We blog and post show notes at 2usfiberadventures.com.
And we invite you to join our 2U's Fiber Adventures group on Ravelry. I'm 100 Projects.
And I am Better in Motion.
We're both on Instagram and Ravelry, and we look forward to meeting you there.
Enjoy the episode. Good morning.
Good morning, Marsha. We have good timing because as we first started to get set up, Robert was mowing the lawn right outside the window, and I didn't set up the whole, because it's early, I didn't do the whole setup in the vanity area. So he's mowing the front lawn and I'm sitting right by the window in the spare room. Mm-hmm. But he has finished, so that's good. Okay. We have good timing.
Well, I am, there might be noise on my end because I had the roofers before. That's all done, but now I have painters. The whole exterior of the house is being painted and the garage. So they've been here. This is day 4, I think.
Okay.
And there's a lot of, I can hear it. I don't know if anybody, but a lot of talking and moving of ladders. And yeah, I can hear noise. So maybe hopefully it's quiet.
Well, if there's background noise, people will know why.
Yeah. Painters are here. So I'm getting a lot of things done. What were we talking about? Chipping away at the list?
Yes.
So I'm getting things done.
Well, that's good. That's
yeah.
It's been a long time, right? All of your projects and your roof is finished, and now you're getting it painted, and then you can take a breath.
Well, and I have to laugh, too, because I said I have a new car on my top of my house, and I have a second new car on the
exterior of your house.
I have 2 new cars, and pretty decent new cars. But I have laughed because I do share in common with my mother, is I have anxiety about the cost. But once I write the check, and this is exactly how she was, when she'd write the check, she's over it. And she would, a lot of times people would say to her, so what'd you pay for that? And she's like, I can't remember. Because when she'd write the check, she'd sort of forget it. And I kind of have that. It's like, I was all this anxiety about writing the check. Now, well, it's done. It's gone. That's a good thing to have.
Easy come, easy go, right?
Yeah, really.
Yeah. That home maintenance stuff. I was thinking about when our house was last painted, and it was in 2006. We moved in 2005, and then we hired a house painting because it had been forever since this house had been painted. And the first thing they had to do was power wash it, which, like, all the paint came off. It was so bad. But yeah, that was in 2006, and I remember Robert, he's contracted them, he's paid them, and we're getting closer and closer and closer to a strike. And actually, we did end up going on strike. It was a short period, so it didn't turn out to be financially a problem, but I just remember thinking, okay, is this the best idea? Well, I guess we can't change it now, as we moved into the fall and the strike was looming and the painters were actually here during the strike.
Well, and you had made the comment to me when we were talking about this as well, you knew you had to pay for it. Like, yes, I knew.
Yes.
And yes, I knew where the money was coming from. And yes, I have the money to pay for it. But again, like my mother, I'm a tightwad. I do not really like spending money. I'm a saver, and I don't like pulling things out of the pot. The saving pot to spend it.
It pains you.
Yeah,
it just stings a little.
Yeah, but it's over once you
That's right.
It's
like your shot.
Yeah,
just stings. Oh my
Anyway, and then the other thing I got too was with all the maintenance, the other thing is I didn't get new gutters, but someone came and just repaired everything because a lot of like the little end caps were missing and some downspouts had come down. And so all of that has been fixed. So I won't, because when we'd have heavy rains, I would watch the water just shoot out the end of the gutter because there was no end cap on there. And so anyway, that's all taken care of too. So yeah, chipping away.
I have to say,
well,
the best investment we ever made in my peace of mind and Robert's was the roof that we had put on this house. And the reason I say my peace of mind is not because I would worry when it rained, but because he would be twisting his hair and twisting his mustache and so distracted and, just not in the conversation because whenever it was raining, because he was just always thinking about where the water could be. And I would say something about it and he'd be like, Kelly, water is the universal solvent. Do you know what created the Grand Canyon? Water.
Yes.
It's not just a little leak. So, yeah.
No, I understand, Robert. I was not worried about my roof. I had no leaks, but it was time. I mean, it was time before I had leaks. Right?
You didn't want to get to that spot.
I didn't want to get to, but the windows, I've talked about that when it rained, water, I couldn't see the water coming in, but you would see evidence that it was the paint was down the basement on the ceiling of Ben's room. It was peeling. And because there was water, I think it was dripping down the inside of the walls probably. And that is never good. That is not good at all. So I don't have to worry about that. That's the project that I really started to sleep better when that was taken care of. Yes. House stuff.
Old houses in particular, but any house really, there's something going on with it. So, well,
let's get on to more pleasant things.
Yeah. Well, and our other type of projects, right? Our more creative projects. Yeah. Well, you got quite a lot of listener support.
Yes.
For your plight in our last episode.
I had a lot. Before we get into projects, I will just say I thank you to everybody who responded. And I put here and I wrote this in the show notes. Thank you to everyone who responded with condolences and ideas of what to do with my dead sweater.
Dead sweater.
So I have looked at it. I just an update. I'm doing much better. Everybody's comments were really helpful, and I responded to. I said what I'm about to say is it really helped to have somebody really understand how I felt.
Yeah.
Because as I said, nobody in my sort of intimate circle here, my brother, my son, really understood. And so a lot of the listeners had some really kind things to say, and just that understanding, like really, really understanding was really helpful.
Yeah. I always feel really sort of humbled by the fact that we'll talk about something. And, we have a really active group of people on the discussion boards and a community there. And I always say, to Robert, I'm talking with my friends in the morning when I'm on the Ravelry boards and discussing things with people. And mostly, it's mostly the same. It's mostly, a consistent group of people. But I always feel really humbled when we talk about something and it resonates with people and people reach out who, are like the silent listeners, what they call lurkers, or, people who listen but haven't felt a need to reach out before. And when new people come into the board to say something or email, send an email, it's just really humbling to know that there are so many people out there who are out there listening and understanding and sort of on our same journey. I don't know. There's just a real sense of like, wow, that is so cool that we all sort of are, traveling the same path in a way. Not the exact same path, but traveling the same path,
Yeah. So I got lots of ideas, and as I started to say, I did actually go down in the basement and look at the sweater. And what I think I might do, because there was a lot of people suggested this is to make like a tote bag or make a hot pad or something out of it. What I might do, I'm not there yet. It's going to be a while, but I was thinking I might cut it apart and make a case for my laptop. Was what I'm kind of thinking, but I don't know. It's just going to sit there for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's totally understandable. That makes very good sense.
Yeah.
Well, so, good. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah, I'm feeling better.
I mean, I knew you would be, right? Like you're a resilient person. But that doesn't change the fact of how you feel in that moment, right? So
yeah, no, yeah.
And thank you to everyone who reached out. I mean, again, it is. Yeah, no, it's really lovely. A good feeling to know that we have so many people listening and supporting. Like just getting us, right?
Yeah, getting us. Yeah. Maybe since I'm talking about this, maybe I should just talk about my project.
Okay, yeah.
To get back on track, there was a lot of discussion about, I think I even said this, about emotional support chicken. So I did cast on the emotional support chicken. Cool. And I put the first stripe in. And I'm using yarn that I got at the destash room. Barocco Borealis. And it's there was 3 skeins of it in the destash room this past NoCKRs, and so it's really bright. Well, it's actually more subtle than I realized. I thought they were really bright colors, but knitting it up, it's not going to be the crazy chicken ant that I thought it was going to be. It's more subtle, but it's very nice. I really like it, and it's a bulky yarn. But I'm still using size 7 needles because. The 2 chickens I made before were worsted weight, and when you stuff them, and I also did use size 7 needles for the worsted weight yarn, but when you stuff them, it expands it so much that it's it's not a very dense fabric, and you can kind of see the filler,
the stuffing,
that stuff, filler,
polyfill,
stuffing, yes. Polyfill, you can kind of see that. So I just decided to go ahead and use 7s, but with this bulky yarn, and it's not hard to knit with at all. It's easy. And then I have worsted weight yarn for the stripes, and I'm just holding that double. So I think it's gonna give a nice sort of, this doesn't sound nice with this word, but kind of a stiffness to the fabric. Yeah. Maybe body is a better way of saying to the fabric. So I don't think it's going to show the filling as much. So
I think that's kind of how the one I did with my hand spun was. It was because I used the size needles called for in the pattern, but my yarn was a little thicker. I actually got, kind of a stiff fabric.
I will say about the chicken, because it is an emotional support chicken, and it really helped getting started on that because you don't have to worry about gauge necessarily. Maybe we should. I don't know. I didn't. I just started knitting it. I was laughing to myself. Now, Kelly, we don't talk politics in this podcast, but was knitting on it when I was watching the debate, and I realized I was sort of stabbing the chicken. Because I was so distraught on so many levels that I was kind of stabbing that emotional support chicken. But anyway, that's all I'm going to say.
Someone mentioned the stabbing, the therapeutic stabbing of needle felting in one of the posts about what you could do with your sweater. Was that you could even do some needle felting on top, do some top designs with needle felting, and that the stabbing is very therapeutic. So I think there are lots of reasons to think of stabbing.
Yeah. So I guess an emotional support chicken, it supports you emotionally, whatever your emotion is, right? So
That's
it
right.
can be calming and soothing, or you can take out some of your anxiety and fear
That's
and stuff
right.
by stabbing the chicken. So I cast that on, and then my socks, I'm sitting here today knitting on the socks that I've been working on for a long time. But I did cast on a project. So I decided I want to do something. Well, the last episode I said I just need to knit something that's simple, that I don't have to mess with substituting a fiber that's not really meant for that project and doing all this kind of stuff. I part of it is that way, part of it's not. So I'm cast on Poppy Tea by Jo Cottle, and I'm using Rowan Purelife Revive in the colorway Loam. And it's kind of it sounds strange, kind of a pinky lavender gray color.
Okay.
It's kind of interesting, and it has like flecks of, I'm looking at it now, it has like flecks of aqua and yellow, and I think there's some like little flecks of red in here. So anyway, and the Poppy Tea is top down. It has a lace yoke, and it increases. And then once you put the sleeves on waist yarn and it's just straight stocking it down all the way down to the hem that is then ribbed. And then it's a t-shirt, so, kind of short sleeves. Mm-hmm. So anyway, as I say, this is yarn I got from the destash room. So thank you to whoever
cool.
put that in the destash room.
And did you get it this year, or was it from a previous?
This year.
Okay.
Yeah.
You should go post it in the NoCKRs Ravelry group.
Oh,
there's a thread for destash projects that Tamara started. I don't know, back before the retreat this year, and I thought, I better get something going, and I never did. But
okay, I'll do that then. I'll put the chicken in there as well.
Somebody would probably like to see what ended up happening to their yarn. I did that with the boucle chicken. Yeah.
There were 7 balls, and I was kind of worried it was going to be kind of tight, and with yardage wise. So I did go and looked online, and I found there was a store that still had a yarn shop that still had the yarn in the inventory. So I ordered 2 more balls of it. It wasn't that expensive. Mm-hmm. And I think they were $8 or something. In fact, I thought I'm just buying these 2, so I don't even need to worry about it.
Right. Yeah.
So I will have more than enough.
Mental health insurance.
Yeah. And so the only thing is I didn't get gauge. I'm getting, instead of 20 stitches in 4 inches, I'm getting 19. So I'm making I want to have about 4 inches of ease. So the size I'm making, I do know when you have to adjust the size, it's better to start with the smaller size. So I'm making the size is just about an inch smaller around the bust than I want. Mm-hmm. It's actually less than that. It's like 3/4 of an inch. And so what I'm going to do is when I get to that point where I put the sleeves on waist yarn, I'm going to add 6 stitches.
Yeah.
That'll make it. That's what I'm going to do. Fingers crossed, everybody, that I...
Well, and you can try it on too. That's the good thing about it.
Exactly.
Sweater,
yeah. So, and that's it for me on projects.
Good. I'm glad to hear that you got back into sweater knitting, because I know that's something you really enjoy. Yeah. And when you were talking about when was the last, your last successful sweater, and I started thinking, well, when was my last sweater? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't knit that many sweaters.
Well, and I have to tell you, so part of the thing that sort of got me motivated too is, well, first of all, I started feeling better.
Yeah.
And then also, as I've talked about this, but I'm doing this Alaska cruise for 2 weeks. on Sunday. We leave Sunday, and I would just have socks to knit on. And while I like knitting socks, I don't know that I can just do socks all the time. So
Right.
I thought I need something else. So I have my pair of socks I'm bringing this t-shirt, and I probably will not finish anything on the trip, but I threw in another ball of yarn for another pair of socks. Some old Red Heart I looked at the date. I think I bought it in 2013. So I just threw one ball in the suitcase.
Nice.
If I do, I'm not probably, but I always like having some backup.
Yes. It's always good to have an extra project that maybe just comes along for a nice little vacation.
Yeah.
From your stash.
Like my Pismo beach socks, right?
Right. They just have a little excursion.
Yeah. But I will say, I know we were going to talk about the summer spinning. I've not done any spinning at all. And partly I just have not really had time because of all the projects going on.
And then you're going to be gone.
Yeah. And then getting ready to go.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if I said this I guess I did say in the last episode that the roof project especially, I really couldn't go outside because they were all that stuff. So I cleaned the kitchen. And did I mention this?
No, about cleaning the kitchen? No.
But I took everything out of the cupboards, cleaned all the cupboards inside. I reorganized.
Nice.
Went through, found anything that maybe had expired and got rid of it. And did a bunch of cleaning and reorganizing. And so I was really tired from that. But now with this paint job, it's not so. What I was going to say is also Ben helped me pull the stove and refrigerator out from the wall.
Oh,
I don't. Okay. This is literally airing my dirty laundry. I don't think I've ever cleaned behind there since I moved into this house. So, I'm living in the house I grew up in. Mm-hmm. At some point, I'm sure my mother and father pulled that out. But I was laughing because I said, well, that was my mother's dirt back there. And it made me feel close. That was my mother.
That's right.
My mother's dirt I was cleaning up. Shocking. I'm sure everybody can relate. Because that's...
Yeah.
Actually, Kelly, you can't even pull your stove out, right? It's so heavy, and it's plumbed in too, right?
Yeah, I can't. Robert can. It is plumbed in because it's a gas stove, but I'm not sure how or why or what the plumbing back there looks like for the gas line. But he has pulled it out before when he's had to do work on it. But yeah, no, it's not a regular occurrence, that's for sure. Yeah. The refrigerator gets pulled out more often. It's a little easier. Mm-hmm. And thinking, we talked to last episode about the things that you don't notice. Mm-hmm. You were talking about the molding that ended up being too short. And I was saying how some things you stop noticing them. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I realized thinking about pulling the refrigerator out that I don't notice is, so the people who lived here, the woman who lived here before me, probably, or it might have been done, it actually, to be honest, it might have been done when the Lofgrens lived here, because they lived here for a long time from the 50s all the way up through, 2000. At some point, they may have gotten a modern sized refrigerator. And so the space where the refrigerator goes, I think it used to have cabinets above it, but it was too small for the modern size refrigerator. And so they basically just ripped out the front part, whatever was in front of where the refrigerator needed to go, they just ripped it out. And so the opening, this, but the opening where my refrigerator is, which is now an older refrigerator, refurbished, and the right size, but this opening for my refrigerator is not finished at all. Like you see the back wood wall, and back of it is just the wood, like the studs kind of wall, and the floor is just, it's not really flooring. It's just plywood. And then above the refrigerator, you can just it's up into airspace to the second story of the house. I'm not exactly sure where that airspace is, what's right above the refrigerator. I think probably somewhere in this spare room. Anyway, totally unfinished, big gap in the wall that I never notice. I literally never notice that there's this big unfinished section of the kitchen that my refrigerator sits in. But the refrigerator comes out fairly often because things fall off the top of the refrigerator.
Right.
It's curved. And occasionally I'll put stuff on top of the refrigerator, even though I know it's curved, and then something falls off and then has to be pulled out so we can get to the thing. The most recent one was a rawhide bone that I stuck on top of the refrigerator, and then it fell down to the side. And of course, then Barry's, we play find it in the kitchen.
Alone, right?
So he's trying to get at it because it's, in a place. I mean, I do that to him when we play find it, not with the rawhide bone, but with this other bone. I try to put it in spots where he has to kind of work a little bit to get it. No, don't want you doing that right now. So I have to pull it out. Anyway, thinking about your sweater, I did look up when I finished my last sweater. The last sweater I finished was December 30th, 2021.
Oh my goodness.
I need to make a sweater.
Was that the dark green forest?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
How funny.
Okay.
I have several teed up things I want to do, but that's a whole other podcast. Sweater plans. Okay.
Well, what's going on? What's on the needles now, as they say?
So right this
or the loom.
Exact minute, it is a needle, a literal needle, a sewing needle, and I'm sewing squares on the blanket. So I'm putting on the 11th strip, and there's going to be, I've noticed a couple of times I've knocked into the table. I have those, those sweater clips or seaming clips, or maybe they're quilting clips, those little, I have little clips holding the strip, this 11th strip on, and they keep clicking against the desk. And it's like, okay, Kelly, have a little bit better podcast technique than this. But if you hear clicking, that's what it is. If listeners hear clicking against the desk, that's what's happening. But I'm sewing on the strips, and I'm officially more than halfway done. So
are you using, you said you're using a sewing needle, is it, or are you using the thread the leftover yarn, or are you using sewing thread? What have you decided?
Leftover yarn.
Okay.
But it's a pointy sewing needle. It's not really a tapestry needle or like a darning needle, those ones that you use to weave in your ends or, seam a sweater together normally. It has points to it. And I kind of like that because I bury split plies. Like I can, when I'm burying the end, weaving in the end, I can actually split through the yarn and kind of embed it in the other yarns. So that's what I'm using. Also, it's a lot tinier because it's pointy at the end. It's a lot easier to get the needle in underneath the yarn of the edge as I do the mattress stitch. So that's what I'm using. It's a large, it's maybe about 2 inches long. So it's not like a tiny little needle. And the fingering weight yarn will go through the eye of it, but it's not the giant, the much bigger blunt end needle that people use for weaving in ends or sewing together. So it's coming along. I have a sort of a neutral sock yarn that I did save out that I've been using on the ones that, where I don't have enough of the exact yarn of the square. I have been doing some cutting off of long tails to use elsewhere when I want something that matches, but I just decided not to fiddle too much with that. and just be okay with using. I mean, the yarn doesn't show in the seaming at all. It's pretty good. No matter what yarn I use, it's pretty easy to hide it there. The trick is just hiding it once I've gotten it sewed together. And I've done a few of those where I hide it in the seam. And the neutral color yarn that I'm using works pretty well. So
Okay.
So yeah, that project is moving along. I don't know that I'm actually going to be finished by the end of summer, but I am trying to steadily work on it. I have it out, it's sitting on the table next to the couch, and so it's getting some love. Between the last episode and this episode, I finished a 6th mother bear. I need to put those into my project pages because I need to enter them into the mother bear finished object thread for the 2 knitlet chicks. But I haven't done that. I only have 2 in my project pages, and I have to take pictures of the rest of them. And they come with little tags, and I think they were originally designed for you to put your name on the tag, but people put the bear's name. They named the bears and they put the bear name on the tag. Maybe that's the way it was always designed. I don't know. It says something. It says, with love from Mother Bear or something like that. And then it has a line where you put the name. So you have to tie those all on. And it's helpful for me to get them in the mail and mailed. It's helpful to actually get all that part done as I'm making the bears. And I haven't done that yet. So I still have to put on their tags. But that's number 42.
Wow.
Bear, if I've counted correctly. I didn't start counting when I originally started making bears, so I may have missed one here or there, but I think I have now finished bear number 42. So,
wow.
Let's see what else. Oh, let me talk about my weaving. Having a good time with these dish towels. I'm using the German bird's eye weave structure. And to just describe that, so think about how jeans are twill. You know, so the fabric, the weave structure goes in a diagonal. So in bird's eye, you have a diagonal going one way and a diagonal going the other way, and so it makes a V.
Okay.
And then it shifts direction, and the diagonal that was going to the right now goes to the left, and the diagonal that was going to the left now goes to the right, and so it creates a diamond.
Okay.
So the V on the bottom, the inverted V on the top, and you have a diamond. And then in the middle of the diamond, and this is why it's called bird's eye, I think, in the middle of the diamond is a little dot.
Oh, right.
If your warp and weft are different colors, you'll see a little dot inside of that little diamond. So that's bird's eye, but you can do a lot of different things with bird's eye, this German bird's eye threading that I'm using. The first towel, I just used a regular tabby treadling. So one, every other shaft up and down. So 1, 3 are up and 2, 4 are down, and then vice versa. And it doesn't really make tabby because of the way that the shafts are threaded, the harnesses are threaded, the heddles are threaded, whatever you want to say. It doesn't really make tabby because of that. It makes something that's similar. Jane Stafford calls things like this tabby-ish. It makes something that's similar to tabby, except it has a rib of multiple threads. So it'll be tabby and then a vertical line of multiple threads going up. I'm looking at your picture, your photograph in your project page, and I can see it looks like there's like three or four threads. Yeah. That are, I don't know, bundled together. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. And then between that vertical line of multiple threads is basically just regular plain weaver tabby. So that was my first towel. And I did something called a gamp color technique. And a gamp is when you, typically if you're making a gamp, it's like to sample. And so you'll make your warp in color stripes, let's say. So your warp will have, 5 stripes of different colors, which mine does. It has more than 5 stripes. Because it has four solid colors and 3 variegated. But anyway, you make vertical stripes in your warp. And then when you weave, you make horizontal stripes in your weft that are the same colors as what you used in your warp. And then you just move through that pattern repeat, right? So you'll have one square and you weave so that there's like squares, like checks. And so you'll have one square where it's blue on blue. And then you'll see what does the blue look like with every other color. And then you'll have one square that's green on green. And what does that green look like with every other color? And so I did that as my first towel, using all the solids plus a yellow. So I could see what all the solids looked like on all the other colors. So that's the first towel. And, if I were really doing this, like if this wasn't just like, let's use some destash yarn and see what happens, I probably would have been better to take it off the loom and wash it and see what all those colors look like together before I decided what to do next. Right. And then the other thing you can do in a GAMP is change the weave structure. So I could have seen ahead of time what those different structures I was going to use would look like. But I used the rib weave, and then I just used all the different colors to make a colorful towel, right? And then my second towel is the first treadling sequence in the Marguerite Porter Davison book, which is almost always what you call trompe as writ, which means you're going to step on the treadles in the same order as what you threaded through the heddles. So all the threading you did, that's how you're going to treadle it in that pattern. And so I did that. And what that gave me was, basically what that gave me was those, like half of the bird's eye. So like the top, how the top of the diamond, it just repeats the top of the diamond over and over and over. So like a V shape, an inverted V shape.
Kind of looks like a chevron.
Yeah, exactly.
In the picture I'm looking at, it's right above the tabby-ish. It's right above that, and sort of like an aqua color. Okay.
Yes. And so I used that, and I really liked that. It was very easy to treadle. And so I think that, it was pretty easy to treadle, and I did half of one towel with red, and then I got tired of using red, and I thought, okay, I'll just do the other half of the towel orange, and then you can turn it around depending on whether you want to see the red side or the orange side hanging in your kitchen. And then I thought, okay, I'll do the same thing with the next towel, and I'll use the blue and the green because those are my 4 solids. And with towel 3, I used the bird's eye treadling, which gave me the little diamond shapes with the bird's eye. And for people who don't weave, sorry, this is a lot of weaving talk, but for those of you who do weave, the twill, those diamond shapes that go along the diagonal, it's what the 2 patterns that I've used with the twill, the bird's eye and the trompe as writ, they're both what we call 2-2 twill. So 2 shafts are up and 2 shafts are down. 2 adjacent shafts are up and 2 adjacent shafts are down. So the weft yarn is going over 2 threads and under 2 threads. And then that shifts by 1 and it's going over 2 threads and under. And that's what creates the V shape. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So you can kind of, like your jeans, it just moves along and it's balanced. It's even because you have 2, it's always going over 2 threads and under 2 threads, right? It's a kind of a nice even. So I did that for towel 2 with half red and half orange. I did a different version of that in towel 3 that gave me the diamonds with the dot. And I used turquoise on one half, the blue of the warp, and then the other half of the towel, the other side is the green, which again, you could decide which side you want to look at in your kitchen. And that was really fun. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to try this other one that she's got here, this different treadling sequence that she has on towel 4. And what I didn't think about was that it's a 3-1 twill. So now you have your weft thread going over 3 warp threads and just under 1.
Okay. And
so it's a lot more warp showing on one side, right? It's kind of imbalanced because you've got 3-to-1 weft to warp. Let me just say that again. You've got 3-to-1 weft to warp because your weft is going over 3 threads and under 1. If you look on the back, it's the opposite. On the back, you have more warp than you have weft, and it's not half and half. It's like the other ones. It's 3-to-1. So I started getting kind of nervous about what that would do to the fabric when I take it off and wash it.
Right.
And decided I didn't want to make the whole towel in that. This would have been a good reason to sample, right? This would have been a really good reason to sample. But again, I'm just making dish towel. So this dish towel, this 4th dish towel, will be my sample to see what a 3-1 does as compared to a 2-2 with this particular set of yarns. Because it's still making the same diamond shapes, but the diagonals are over 3 threads. The weft is going over 3 threads of warp as opposed to going over 2 and under 2. So I did that as an edge. I thought, I don't want to do this the whole way through. I'm afraid this fabric will be too unbalanced. And so it won't be the right kind of fabric. And so then I switched, after about 4 to 5 inches, I switched back to the chevrons. And then at the end, the last 4 to 5 inches, I'll shift back to this 3-1 bird's eye on the other edge. So it'll be interesting to see what this does when it comes out, because I haven't really, it's been a long time since I've just sampled twill. We did it in my weaving class when I first started. I didn't quite have the same understanding as I do now. And most of the twill that I've done has all been 2-2, not 3-1. So it'll be interesting to see the difference in the fabric. For me to have it right in the same piece of fabric, I'll be able to compare it.
So, Kelly, I'm looking at the pictures on your page, the Ravelry page. Is the last picture, it's the diamond shapes, but it's not what you just described.
No,
right?
I don't think I have a picture of that yet.
Okay.
Let me just double check. I'll take, that's the, that's not the one that's 2-2. That's the 2-2 that you're seeing.
Okay.
So that has been an interesting, fun project. I spun all day yesterday, so I haven't worked on the weaving for a couple of days. So I'll get back to that, and it will be real quick to finish towel 4. And then I only have one more. I think I only have enough warp. I put on enough warp for 5 towels. So theoretically, I should have one more towel after this one to experiment with. So that's my knitting and weaving. Actually, no knitting. My sewing together of woven squares and my weaving. And then crocheting. The mother bear was crocheting. So no knitting content at all for me. I did, like I said, I was spinning. I've been spinning the Jazzman fleece. I've got 2 bobbins finished. I started a 3rd bobbin last night. They are taking forever. I don't know how anyone can finish one of those gigantor bobbins that you have on the e-spinners. I can barely have the attention span to finish one of these Ashford bobbins, which the sales pages for them describe them as holding 3 to 4 ounces of fiber. And I think that might be true when you're spinning singles, but I never get 3 to 4 ounces of fiber on them when I'm, by the time I've plied the yarn. Basically, it gives me a 2 ounce. It basically gives me about a 2 ounce skein, I think. But yeah, I can barely finish one of those Ashford bobbins without being bored out of my skull. Actually, I'm not bored,
Well-
but I'm not bored because I do like the spinning, but I like the break of putting on a new bobbin,
Yeah, no, I just to, when I come back from Alaska, I'm going to work on the, I'm starting to laugh because I never can remember the Cormo Merino Wensleydale cross.
Oh,
Do
yes.
I have that correct?
Yes.
I never can remember. Anyway, I had started right when we got it and I washed it, I had started spinning that.
Oh.
And so on the little Herbie, so I have it on their Ashford bobbins. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spin that fiber on little Herbie because little Herbie needs to get a workout. He's not had much activity and you got to use it or lose it, right? So he needs a workout. So I'm going to and since I have I think 2 bobbins of that, I have to go look.
Oh, already
I
spun.
think
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, from years ago. So I'm in fact, I have a skein of it too.
Oh, I don't remember this.
Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm going to but anyway, I'm going to continue on little Herbie when I get back. And so to your point, it takes a while because those bobbins on the e-spinner, the Dreaming Robots e-spinner,
so big,
will supposedly hold 8 ounces. I don't spin that way, but I mean that's a lot. And I think it's to your point. If you have these smaller bobbins, you can get to some of the plying, which is fun.
And I'm not a kind of spinner that spins all the singles first, and then I just can't be that disciplined.
Yeah.
I want to see what it looks like.
I know. Yeah.
I want to see what it looks like. And my spinning is fairly consistent. I mean, I don't think it's, if I was spinning to enter in the fair, maybe I would do that. Spin all the singles first and then ply it. But yeah, I've always gotten yarn that is consistent enough to make me happy with whatever I'm going to do with it. But using my technique of spinning and then plying and then spinning more and then plying. So I'm happy with that technique, but I do know that you can get a more consistent yarn if you spin it all first and then ply it and be very intentional. I mean, you can be intentional. You can certainly be intentional the other way too. I mean, you can, keep comparing it to a control card or your sample, which I do make a sample and stick it on my wheel so I can compare it periodically and make sure I'm staying in the ballpark of consistency. But yeah, I'm not generally that type of spinner. And I think I would tear my hair out if I had to fill an 8-ounce bobbin. I don't know.
Well, maybe that's why I'm the way I am, Kelly.
Well, no, everybody's different, and I'm sure that like I said, I know there are advantages to the e-spinner, and we had this conversation already.
I know
about it, but there are things I really like about having my small bobbins. And even before the e-spinner, I would listen to people talk about having bobbins that had all this capacity, and like, okay, no, I like being done with a bobbin. I like that. Check it off the list. Move on to the next thing.
It's like our to-do list.
Yeah.
It's nice to be able to check things off. Yeah.
Even if all you're doing is checking it off the list and then putting on the next bobbin, I don't know. I like that sense of finishing something. So anyway, I'm very happy with the way this yarn is coming out. The singles are really pretty. They're really soft. The color is more brown than I thought it would be. It's gray. It's gray brown. I mean, sheep gray is always in my mind, unless it's that sort of Romney silver or Gotland silver. The grays are always kind of a taupey gray, a warmer gray, a brown leaning gray. But this is a lot browner spun up than I thought it would be. I thought it would be more silvery. silvery gray, but it's very pretty, and I'm excited to be able to finish this third bobbin and ply it up and see what I've got. This was just, last summer I divided it up. I kind of sorted it by color. I kind of sorted it by softness. And I'm not sure how I ended up with something that I called extra and put in a box. I have a feeling that it might have gotten, like, as I was sorting things, it got away from the pile.
Mm-hmm.
And I had everything sorted and put away and realized, oh, wait, what about this?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't skirtings that I reclaimed out of the skirting pile, which I've been known to do. Oh, I don't think I can get rid of that. I think it just, or maybe it didn't fit. Maybe as I was putting things in pillowcases, it didn't fit. I can't remember, but I put it in a box and labeled it extra. And it's about a pound. So it turned into about 14 ounces after I carded it.
Okay.
And we'll see how much there is when I get it into a skein of yarn.
Okay.
So that's that spinning project. And I have been spinning every day of Tour de Fleece. I have done some spinning. I wasn't spinning every day, since the start of the summer spin-in. That wasn't the intention. But I know the intention on Tour de Fleece is to spin every day. So I've been trying to do that. And then the last thing I just wanted to talk about, two last things that I wanted to talk about. One related to spinning is one of our listeners, Kathleen, Sane One, I think is who put this. Yes, she's the one that does a lot of challenges. And I think she's the one who put in this use all the spindles challenge that she's put for herself. And I kind of chimed in thinking, I don't have a lot of spindles because I'm not really a spindle spinner, but I do have a lot of spinning tools. And so I thought, I should make for myself during the Tour de Fleece a use all the spinning tools challenge. So I did dig out, I didn't have to dig very far. It's been on a shelf in my sunroom for ages. A little project that I started back when I first started spinning. So probably 25 years ago. A ball of Merino that I bought at the Golden Fleece in Santa Cruz, where I bought my wheel, and a Tockley that I bought the same place. And I was spinning this fiber on the Tockley while I was waiting for my wheel to be ready. And then I spun on it afterwards too. When I would go to a conference or go somewhere where I needed something to do with my hands, I'd bring the Tockley. Because I was obsessed with spinning and I was not obsessed with knitting at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So I have all these little mini skeins that have been wound off the Tockley of this dusty green merino. And I was originally going to weave a pillow, like a pillow, a throw pillow for my mom's living room. Remember when her living room was green and orange?
Yeah.
Her and Dennis's house. I was originally going to make her throw pillows for her couch in the living room. Well, it's not green and orange anymore. No. It hasn't been green and orange for a really long time. And this is a 25-year-old project. I never think of it, when we were talking about old projects, I never think of it because I just have it in a basket on the shelf like a decoration. So anyway, I've gotten it out. I put it in a project bag so I can take it out to the backyard or, easily take it in the car with me and spin on it. And I have spun a little bit, a very little bit during a meeting, a Zoom meeting. I spun on this project. So that's one of my spinning tools that I'm going to try to use this summer. And I won't go into detail about all the other spinning tools that I have. It will be a challenge to use all the spinning tools. I don't have a big collection of spindles, though. I really only have three spindles. One was given to me by my Aunt Pat from Colonial Williamsburg. one I bought is like a stone, a carved stone,
Mm-hmm.
supposedly old. I don't know. Maybe it's some country's artifacts, stolen artifacts. I have no idea. I bought it at Black Sheep Gathering the very first time I went back in early 2000. It's a round stone and it has a hole in the middle and the stick is stuck in the middle of that stone. So it's basically a supported spindle.
Okay.
Of unknown origin. Not even sure the stone was originally made to be in the bottom of a spindle. I have no idea. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was really cool. Didn't think twice about it. Bought it. Thought it was great. So I'm going to get that one out too and play around with that spindle.
I just have to interject about spindles.
Uh-huh.
I have one spindle that you sent me years ago when you were, as you just described in this, you're obsessed with spinning, and you sent me a spindle and some fiber, and it's in a plastic bag in with all my tools that I have down in the basement. I spun a little bit of the fiber. I'm not good at a drop spindle at all, but I had to laugh because you were so obsessed with spinning that you sent me this drop spindle thinking that you were going to draw me into this. You did eventually, but not with the drop spindle.
It took a while, yeah.
It took a while, yeah.
And is it a real spindle or is it one made with a CD?
No, it's wood.
Oh, okay.
It's wood. I will go down there and look at it and see if it says like who made it or anything, if it says anything on it. Because I was, I think you sent it to me, I don't know, would it have been before Ben was born or when did you?
It was right around the time. Yeah, it was right around the time that Ben was born.
Because that's when you were sending me all these little random balls of yarn.
The project you were supposed to do since you were having all this time on your hands off work raising a baby. Oh my God.
I'm crossing my fingers too. Because I want to ask you a question. I have a couple of questions I want to ask, but I'm crossing my fingers about baby sweaters. Anyway, but I was just going to say I will go down there and look at that spindle because I'm kind of curious to know now because I didn't know anything about it and I really couldn't figure out how to use it. And some people are so coordinated with that drop spindle and I'm not there at all. But no, I cross my fingers, baby sweaters, because everyone knows I finished the baby sweater. Mm-hmm. And I went to 3 places looking for buttons for that sweater. And I went to a yarn shop and they had great sweaters, but they were wood. And I was sort of worried about putting those on a baby sweater that is going to be going through the washing machine. Mm-hmm. So I went to Joann Fabrics, and I'm saying the name of the company. I'm not trying to diss the company, but I think the world has changed. There are no buttons out there. They had buttons, but if I wanted black or metal or cream or white.
Oh, interesting.
But remember, they used to have, like, fabric store used to have all these
racks and racks of buttons. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and zippers,
Mm-hmm.
So I went to another Joann, and they didn't have anything. And then I went to 4 places because there's also right by the yarn shop. There's one of these, what's it called, Recreate, where people bring craft supplies, leftover craft supplies, and they had buttons there, but nothing that would work. So I wanted to let you know, maybe it'll arrive today, but I sent you a letter with an envelope. It has two pieces of yarn.
Oh, good. Okay.
So hopefully it'll arrive today for you to go and see through your massive collection of buttons and see if you can find anything that will work for that sweater.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I will definitely look at that. And I have to say, if I had to classify that as what type of clutter that is, my buttons, that's definitely identity clutter. I'm the crazy woman with a million buttons who is the steward I'm the crazy woman who's the steward or the conservator of a million buttons that someone else collected and carefully and lovingly threaded onto linen thread
That's what
in
it'll say
order.
on your headstone, right? Kelly Locke, button steward.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm sure I
maybe
can
you'll
find
find
something. I'm sure I can find something good. I'll be on the lookout for that
Yeah.
package.
Well, you've got time because I'm gone 2 weeks.
Right.
So you've got lots of time to.
Okay. Yeah. I'll sort through the buttons.
So, so Kelly, were you done? Because I wanted to ask you another question too.
Let me just check. Using all the
Because I wanted to ask-
spinning tools. I did. I want to talk a little bit about the Swint bath.
Okay, that's what I wanted to ask you about that because I saw
okay.
that's on there, but we haven't talked about it yet.
Okay. So, yes. And someone asked me about it. I can't remember now who on the Ravelry boards about what was happening with that or interested to know how that works. So I actually made a project. I had 9.2 ounces of the white Shetland that I bought at Lambtown that I split out last year and put it into a Swint bath. And I left it in there. I think I talked about it last year when I was doing it last fall. I left it in there for probably 3 or 4 weeks just because I forgot it was there. And then, oh yeah, I need to do something with this. And, it just kind of hung around. It hung out in there for quite a long time. Took it out, dried it. Interestingly, when it came out, it was 8.2 ounces. So I don't know. I lost a whole ounce of dirt, I guess. That seems a little far-fetched, but maybe not. And so then I split that into 2 4.1 ounce batches. And the first batch I started carding on my drum carder, and it's now all picked, but it's not all carded. I have one bat so far. And it's still pretty greasy. I don't think I would use this technique on a really greasy fleece because it leaves the lanolin. I don't know if it's supposed to take the lanolin out. I can't remember. I don't think it does as great a job on the lanolin as it does on the rest of the dirt. And I didn't look up the Swint bath technique, but I'm pretty sure that's kind of part of the process, that it doesn't get to the lanolin. But maybe if I had done it, maybe there's a technique for your Swint bath that it really does get the lanolin out, but mine did not, which is fine.
Okay.
It's nicely spinnable. I wouldn't want to spin it in the winter or card it in the winter. It's nice because I can sit it outside. It sits in the sun. Then I put it into my carder and it goes real smoothly because the lanolin is nice and warm, right, from being in the sun. But it looks really dingy. And I'm not sure I'm going to think it's real pleasant to spin. We'll see. The other one, I washed it and I just had to do one wash where normally I have to do 2. I did do 2 rinses because I felt like I might have put in too much soap. I'm used to washing more than 4 ounces of fleece. Once I split this, I only had 4 ounces in each batch. So I thought, well, I think I put in a little too much, got a little heavy-handed with the squirt of Dawn. So I rinsed it out twice, but I probably could have rinsed it only once. And I used, the hottest water in the laundry room, which is very hot. I had to, I have to use a stirrer to poke it down and into the water and swish it around a little bit. So that came out really pretty and white and clean. When it dried. The other one is cleaner. I think clean enough to spin and then wash. But I think I have a feeling that spinning the actually clean one, the one that I washed with Dawn, will be more pleasant. And I have a feeling carding it will be a little bit more pleasant. It's just, I like the feeling of lanolin, but it's just a little dingy. A little grimy. I don't know. It's just, it's not as, it just doesn't feel as nice. So
Okay.
I'm going to spin them both, and then I'm going to wash the one was in the swimp bath once it's in yarn. And I'm just curious to see, will it make the same yarn? Because if it makes the same yarn and saved washing, that's good,
Yeah.
And the fact that it's like, it's not as nice to spin. Sometimes that doesn't bother me. And, so, I mean, your mileage may vary. My mileage may vary depending on my mood. Sometimes I really like the feel of the lanolin.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of how that experiment is going.
Yeah. Okay.
So I haven't started spinning anything. I haven't finished carding the first batch. And then I'll spin the first batch, and then I'll card the second batch and spin the second batch. I think that's my plan. So,
okay.
yeah. But it's a nice fleece. That Shetland is a nice fleece. It's a real combination of soft, like open, sort of the more primitive locks, kind of pointy triangular locks that a Shetland sheep has with the open crimp, and then really fine crimp. And I'm just, for this batch at least, it's just all blended together. So super shiny. The picture, actually the photograph, it came out shinier than it looked that day because of the sun. And but that's it before, after the swimp bath. That's the whole box of fiber, and then I split that in half. And I don't have a picture of the washed version. It's much whiter than that. I'll have to get some more pictures up. There's not much to show at this point, except fleece that has been in the swim bath and fleece that has been washed in the dawn after the swim bath.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So there's a very interesting project going on. Maybe we can talk about it in our next episode. There's I think it's in the fleece processing Ravelry group, or maybe it's in the spinning group, on what soap to use and how does it work and how much loss of weight did they get and how greasy is it still, and kind of interesting experiments, multiple experiments going on with, washing fleece and how different soaps do different things.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because the first thing that each fleece is different, right? So,
yeah, I mean the Shetland was not very greasy, so to me it was kind of a perfect candidate, and I don't think I would use it on something that had merino in it, for example. I have a CVM fleece that's quite greasy. I don't think I would use it on that. I don't know. Maybe I'll take out some of that and try it and experiment.
Okay.
And like I said, I'm not following, to the letter how to create a swim bath, basically I stuck it in a bucket of water and let it sit there until it smelled really bad.
Well, my understanding is that's what you do, right?
That's, yes. But you know how like when you're fermenting things, like when I made sauerkraut, they're smelling really bad. And that's the process of making sauerkraut. And then they're smelling really bad because something has gone wrong.
Yeah.
And so with the swimp bath fermentation, I honestly don't. With sauerkraut, I knew what I was smelling. With swimp bath fermentation, I have no idea if the smell I was smelling was the right one or not. It's an interesting process, and I'm having a good time with the experiment.
And you have a big enough garden that you can put it someplace where it's not near the house, right?
Right. It doesn't have to be right outside the back door.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's it for me. I think we've talked about our summer spin-in. Goes all the way through Labor Day, September 2nd. And the Tour de Fleece goes through July 21st. So let us know what you're doing in your spinning. Join in to the summer spin-in thread and show us what you're doing. If you're only spinning for the Tour de Fleece, that's fine. You can show us that. If you're spinning for the, full summer spin-in, talk about those projects. There's lots of inspiration in that thread. Lots of people are doing really interesting things. Very pretty things too.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, we'll talk in 2 weeks, or it might be a little more than that.
A little more than that, probably, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Sounds good.
All right. And again, thanks to everybody for your support too. Really very, very thoughtful, and I really appreciate it. So all those kind words. So, all right. We'll talk, Kelly.
Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for listening. To subscribe to the podcast, visit 2usfiberadventures.com.
Join us on our adventures on Ravelry and Instagram. I am Better in Motion, and Kelly is 100 Projects.
Until next time, we're the 2 U's
doing our part for World Fleece.